Welcome to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. This podcast was designed to let you know that you aren't the only one that took forever to get it together. So the rabbit hole that you have stumbled down will hopefully help you understand that just when you think it's over, it's only the beginning. Just because you were dealt a bad hand doesn't mean you have to keep it. Welcome to the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast.
And what's, excuse me, Jesus, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but Lord Jesus. All right, welcome back. This is season 2, Knucklehead Chronicles podcast. I'm going to jump right back into the origin. First of all, before I get into any of that, though, I want to shout out my man, Omega Sparks, who did my intro and outro for this season for the podcast, because I didn't have an intro last season. I was just using some clips from Harlem Nights, but I reached out to Omega. He's an award-winning musician, producer, does a lot of work with AEW, the wrestling promotion out there, and a lot of the wrestlers' intros. So shout out to Omega, man. Thank you for being cool and doing everything in a timely fashion. I really appreciate it. All right. So we're gonna jump right back into the origin. Nope, before I do that, there are another couple announcements. I'm going to wait for those to the end. I'm going to jump back into the story real quick. If you remember the last time we kicked off the recap show, but before that episode, we are on the we at the tail end of with me and Strawberry up in Illinois, and I get ready to leave. What happened? Okay, here's what happened. What made me leave Illinois wasn't necessarily the fact that I became bold enough to leave her. It was because I had met someone else, right? So I don't want anybody to be misconstrued and think, oh, Terry got enough strength to leave her after all that, No, that was a lot. No. I only had enough courage, enough balls to say, I'm out of here, only after I had met someone. And the person that I met, she was a person that I found on, I found her on Facebook, but we have been friends for years, right? But she was like my first, my first crush, first kiss, whatever she was. I'm not going to call her name either, but yeah. So anyway, I leave. I finally get up enough guts to leave, and this is the part of the story that really gets me sometimes when I sit and think about it, because I endured 4 years of absolute torture and hell because I thought that I wanted to be somewhere that I wasn't wanted. You see how that makes any sense? You know how many times, how many people that run in your circle will stay with somebody or stay in a situation because, I just feel like I deserve to be there. A lot of the things I did and went through was because I felt like I deserved it. I took beatings, emotional beatings, because I thought that I deserved it. And that was my mindset for a long time, was that I took the beating, I took the nonsense, because of the way that I treated her. That's why you have to be careful how you treat people. You got to be careful how you move with people, because karma is a fat bitch. You better believe that. 325 pounds with 1 tooth. Karma is not cute, right? But at the same time, the emotional abuse, you don't have to take it. You don't deserve that. But it took me some moons to figure that out. It took me a while to figure that out. And I think there are some days, even now, I still feel like I deserve some stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, nah. You know what I'm saying? I made my mistake. That's my bad. I lied in it. Okay? I took accountability for it. And you try not to make that same choice twice. Notice I didn't say mistake, right? I tried to make that same choice twice because if you do it more than once, it's a choice, not a circumstance. Anywho, so I leave Illinois and I go back home. I go back to North Carolina. You know, I decided to pick up life with this young lady. Just for the sake of this podcast, I'm gonna call her Psycho Sid. Okay, excuse me. I'm gonna call her Psycho Sid because she was absolute. And this is I didn't find this out until after, right? I'm gonna call her Psycho Sid, and this is just another story of the abuse that I took. You know, some things, like I said, like I said, I repeat the sentiment is that I went through a lot of stuff thinking I deserved it, and I deserved that. I deserved that butt kicking. Sure did. So I go back home, and I leave Illinois, I leave Strawberry. I left her with a lot of questions unanswered. I left. I can't describe it. I mean, I just left so many open doors. I mean, just emotionally never got. People always asking, why can't we get? I need closure. I need closure. I need closure. And believe me, when people say they need closure, damn it, they need closure. And I didn't get any of that. So I'm walking around, open wound. Can you imagine like getting cut or getting shot, and you have no treatment, no antibiotic, no nothing, and you just walk around open wounded? That was me, emotionally. So I go home. I move in with this young lady. At first, it was good. It was an absolute infatuation with her. It wasn't that I loved her. It wasn't like, it was an absolute infatuation. And then the last time I saw her, she was a cutie when she was a young girl. And then as a grown woman, she was full fledged, like, whoa, what the she had everything. But her mental was way off. So moved in with her. And like I said, at first it was good, right? So I didn't really have any job aspects, right? So I couldn't, stay with this woman and not have a job. There's just no way, right? So I go back to this job I worked years ago. If anybody from North Carolina know, I'm talking about a place called Convergence. They everywhere, but a place called Convergence. I worked for OnStar years ago, and so I go back to Convergence. Now, when the first time that I worked there, I was paying child support, and they were eating my ass alive. If I remember correctly, that's the reason why I left Convergence because child support dodging at the time, and they were just really eating me up with child support, right? So I didn't. I left, but when I came back home, and this is in 2014, so I go back home, and I go right back to work there, right? So they just picked up where they left off as far as all the garnishments and such. So I remember working my training period and making what I thought was a lot of money, right? Man, I get my check, and they gutted me yet again with child support, which is fine, what I'm saying? But at the time it wasn't. So I had to go home and try to, explain, what happened to my money. So they garnished my child support. They garnished me. Roll with that. So the weekend that I got paid, we decided to go to Carowinds. If you guys are familiar, the theme park lovers, Carowinds. So we go to Carowinds, and I spent all this money. Just me and her. And now at this time, me and her I was with my phone company. It was AT&T. So I had to win and got her a phone. I'm a G. I'm balling, right? So we go to Carowinds. This is a Saturday. We go to Carowinds. The light bill due on Monday. She called. Monday comes around. She says, "Hey, you gonna pay the light bill?" I'm like, "Oh, I ain't got it." You know what I'm saying? And so this started the downward spiral between me and her. And she was like, well, why are you even here? Like, if you can't pay a bill, why are you even here? Which made sense, right? That's not what made her crazy. What made her crazy was we slept, of course, slept in the same bed. And at the time, I snored. Well, I still snore when I don't have my CPAP, but back in the day, I snored. And so she kicked me out of the room because I snored. And I was like, but I snored the first night I was here. What you talking? So she legit kicked me out of the bedroom and said, and she had another bedroom, like she had 2-bedroom apartment. So she just made me sleep in the other bedroom because I snored, whatever. So back to this light bill business. She was like, well, you said you were going to pay the car pay the light bill and whatnot. And I was like, all right. Well, I just ain't got my job. They garnished my check again, da-da-da-da. And so she's like, okay. And when I tell you, this period of time, it was just tumultuous. I mean, we wouldn't speak. She wasn't speaking to me. We already sleeping in separate beds. She's not speaking to me. She incorporates somebody else to pay the light bill. And I was like, okay, nope, I'm not gonna do this with you either. And so one Sunday, because we lived in Charlotte, but we went to church in my hometown, my home county, in Anson County. And so we would go down there on Sundays to go to church. So this one Sunday, I was just like, man, I'm not feeling this at all. I'm done. I can't. Here I am. I'm busting my butt. Now, mind you, after the whole light bill incident, she stopped taking me to work. I had to find my own way to work. I was walking to work. I mean, it was just a lot of, she went totally left on me, and I get it, to a degree. You could have just said, or something, right? So I said, that's it. I'm over it. I'm done. I didn't even tell her that I was leaving because she didn't care. She didn't acknowledge the fact that I was there in the first place. She ain't finna care if I'm, if I leave or whatever. So I left, and I went and moved into a one of those extended stay hotels. I can't remember the name of it, not for nothing. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it, but anyways, moved into an extended stay hotel, and I'm gonna tell you, I think that was a time of my life when I was staying in the hotel where that was, of course, the most loneliest. There's nobody. I didn't have nobody to come home to. All that. Before I get into that, it's one of those things that it's one of these points that makes me think a little bit. My mama, God rest her soul, she used to tell me all the time, just like your auntie, God rest her soul too, Auntie Annie B. You just like your auntie. You just feel like you can't live this life by yourself. And I said, yes, I can, Mama. She said, no, you can't. Because you feel like you just gotta have somebody. You can never be alone. You've never been alone. You've always been somebody's boyfriend or been somebody's husband. You've never been alone. And I was like, oh, you right about that, Got a point there, Mama, And your auntie was the same way. My sister was the same way. She just gotta have a man in her life. I said, well, so Mama, that's kind of the way life is. She said, no, it's not. She said, my mama used to tell me before she passed away, she said, love yourself, son. Because you're not promised to have anybody in your life. Love yourself. Don't let your life go to the pits to the point where you can't function alone. And that's exactly where I ended up. I ended up in a place to it because I did not know how to love myself. I completely tanked on myself because I didn't know what to do. I was so emotionally geared up to be somebody's husband, to be somebody's boyfriend, even though I was terrible at it. I was terrible at being somebody's boyfriend. I was terrible at being somebody's husband. But for some reason, I had to have somebody in my life. I got to a place in my life, and this is where I got it when I started living in this hotel. Um, it was just the loneliest. It was just the loneliest, and I was still working at Convergence. But I had to figure out a way to make everything work. So I leave. Psycho said, right now, mind you, I told you earlier in the broadcast that we had I had AT&T, and I had to borrow her phone. So I got her phone disconnected because you're not finna sit down and tuck up my phone bill and you threw me out. What? Well, actually, I left, but no, we're not gonna. No, we ain't doing that, right? So I got a phone off. She comes over to the hotel where I live, and she says, "Why you cut my phone off?" I said, "What you mean? Get out of here! You were mean to me. You stopped speaking to me for the last month that I was there. What you mean? Like, what you thought? You gonna keep a free phone? No, man." So, life in the hotel was just difficult. Um, it gave me a lot of time to mull over um, situations and people, and I was like, you figure in that moment, living in the hotel, you figure that would be um, liberating after everything that I've been through, but it wasn't. It absolutely was not. Um, there was a sense of I felt a sense of failure. On top of the lonely, I feel like I failed my mom. I feel like I failed me. I feel like I failed everybody in my life. And and so I stayed there, and I tried to make things work. And you know, for the most part, it did work. It was just I was just so I tried dating. Um, went out with this girl named Constance. Constance was cool, but she had just came out of some stuff herself, and so we go out to this little fancy rib joint over, and she was like, "Yeah, you cool and everything, but I don't want to date you." You know, I'm like, "Well, I didn't say that. I just went out. This is our first date. I didn't say I wanted to go steady with you. I just said let's go eat dinner." But it was that part of my life is not as foggy as I thought it was. Now that I'm sitting here, I'm telling it the story. It was like, oh, that was weird. So I had a coworker of mine because I was so lonely. I had a coworker of mine that had two kids. Her name was Rosie, and Rosie would come to work, and because she didn't have a babysitter for her kids, she would bring her kids to work and leave the kids in the car for the entire shift, right? So she was homeless, right? So I was like, hey, let me do, the gentleman thing here. And Rosie's my friend. Um, to this day, I hope she's well. I haven't seen her, heard from her, talked to her in years. So I was like, you know what? I got this hotel room. It ain't much, but you guys could come and stay with me. Just that shared room. We split the rent. Whatever. I slept on the couch. She slept in the bed with her and the kids. I never promised that. So it just got with Rosie, it got really tricky with them babies because they did some of everything. They were there long enough to where they caught the bus there with the school. Rosie was dating. She had her own thing happening. I had my own thing happening. It kind of worked for a minute, right? But the kids kept getting in trouble at the hotel. You know what I'm saying? They kept in the fights and running in the street and all that jazz. And so one of the landlords of the hotel, he called me up one day. He said, "Hey man, you gotta get these kids out of here. If you don't, you're gonna have to leave." Now, I didn't want to break it to her. I thought I wanted You know, I wanted to be the good guy, right? But at the end of the day, I wasn't. But all of these decisions that I made, you know, with Psycho Said, with Rosie, were all decisions made under absolute emotional duress because I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I thought I was being this way and that way. I thought I was being a man. I thought I was handling my business, and I wasn't. I was far from it. And so life takes a really bad turn. And you think it's bad now. I mean, a really, really bad turn. I stayed in the hotel. I actually got kicked out of the hotel that was the first hotel. And then I went and moved into a hotel that was more swanky on the other side of town. I actually was down the street. But along with that swankiness, the cost was extra to live there, and they did weekly rent. It wasn't monthly, or it wasn't monthly. It was weekly, and I stayed in this hotel, and it was called an Extended Stay America. And if you've ever been traveling across this great country, while they are everywhere, right? Stayed there. I was paying what I paid a week in rent. I was paying. No, what I paid a month at the first hotel, I paid a week there. You know, so imagine the struggle. Now this time I've moved jobs, and no, it didn't. I was at extended stay. I was still at Convergence because I had to walk to work. Again, lonely, trying to get over. You know, the old saying goes, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else, right? I don't know who did that. That's complete bullshit. I'm not sure why. I'm not. Ooh, that's nuts. Don't ever. It never works out. And so that's what I try to do. Though I try to you know cover the pain with booze and cover the pain with girls, whatever. But I couldn't get either booze nor girls, so it was just bad. And I stayed in this hotel, and it was great. There was a Walmart next door, so if I needed something, you know, I would just go and walk to Walmart. I would catch the bus to work. I ran out of money at one point, and I had to walk to work. So that was rough. I mean, but it had to be done, right? So one day, out of the blue, I get kicked out of this hotel because I got to pay the rent. So you guessed it, your boy was homeless. My daughter came through and was like, "Now this is." I went back to the first hotel. Eventually, went back to the first hotel, and my daughter was like, she came to visit me one day. She was like, "Dad, why don't you come and stay with me and my boyfriend?" Now at the time, it was a baby daddy. He was an abuser, narcissistic abuser, and I just was like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that, And eventually, she talked me into it because it was just too hard. It was too hard. And so I packed up, left the hotel, and went and stayed with her baby daddy. Yeah. We'll get to that next episode. Check this out, yo. Here's my announcement. The Knucklehead Chronicles podcast are coming back. The panel part of it is coming back. Me, Kevin Peoples, Ernest Harris, Quinn Stewart. We are making a comeback. We will relaunch May 1st. Now, the difference between this relaunch and any others is because we'll be going live on BS3 TV on Roku. So if you're listening to this podcast and you have a Roku TV or one of those Roku thingies in the back of your TV, go and download BS3 TV. We will be going live May 1st at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. 2:30 to 3:30 is our show. But in that panel side of it, we'll be doing current events and just giving our opinions about certain things that happen in this great country of ours and situations. So stay tuned for that. That's the panel on Sundays live on Podbean, BS3, and YouTube. Okay, follow that. Right. Also, stay tuned right here to my personal podcast here. The Origin will still be going live, not live, but we're recorded every other day or once a week or whatever. I haven't figured that out yet, but you can check me out on podbean.com, knuckleheadchronicles.podbean.com. You can check it out. Go to the website, visit, subscribe, follow, all that. We're on just about every platform except for Pandora right now. So go check us out on any platform. But you guys, stay tuned. This is the rabbit hole gets deep. It really does. It really does get deep. And yeah. But you guys have a great rest of your day, man. We will see you on the flip side.
Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't fry your brain too bad. Come back through and give me another chance. You can listen on all platforms and visit us at knuckleheadchroniclespodcast.podbean.com. Until next time, in the words of the incomparable Jerry Springer, take care of yourself and each other.